We all know it. Ethereum is booming, and it's only going to continue to boom. There are two places that this money is going to be flowing to when the profits and the gains from Ethereum reach euphoric status. It's going to be going to DeFi and to NFTs. Today, we're joined with one of the best experts around on both of the subjects, popular YouTuber Elio Trades and a close friend of mine. We're going to listen to his thoughts on where this money is going and the future of cryptocurrency. Let's get it. BitSwap is the hottest new way to trade tokens. Crawling all the top decentralized exchanges, BitSwap gets you the very best price and value for your trades. BitSwap is changing the game. Try it now at bitswapdex.io. Hey everybody, I'm here with Elio, my man. I love this guy. I think a lot of people think we're harsh rivals.
We have frenemies.
Frenemies. That's exactly what we are. A lot of people
Bitboy
know us.
and I go way back. Yeah.
They know
go
us as
way
kind of
back.
the altcoin guys. We talk a lot of altcoins, and a lot of channels don't really do that. They kind of pick and choose, when things are hot. But we're on the back end doing a lot of the work behind the scenes to find out which altcoins are popular and people are going to like and have high potential. And right now, I think we're about to see something like pretty incredible with Ethereum and how that's going to affect other things in this market. And so let me start with this. What do you think is going to happen over the next 3 to 4 weeks with Ethereum? Do you buy into the hype that it's going to go, up to $2,500, $3,000, like some people are saying? And then we can get into what that means.
Yeah, well, thanks again for having me on. Again, yeah, like Ben and I met years ago, and we've just been, kind of came out with our channels at the same time and worked our way up without, it was a lot harder back when we started than it is now, and so we both learned a lot of lessons from that. But yeah, the thing about the big caps like Ethereum is the narrative, it's kind of like Bitcoin, right? Like if you zoom out type thing, to me, it's got a very similar feel, which is the developers want to be there, the users, the investors want to be there. Despite cheaper, better, faster, other alternatives that have come along, nobody seems to want to deviate from their MetaMask, from Ethereum, from Solidity. And so it seems like there's that ground is where people want to stake their claim. And so does it matter to me what happens next month? Like, not so much, right? It's one of those things where you just keep riding the wave. And that's why also, you've probably noticed I focus a lot on the smaller caps because that to me is a little easier to predict on time analysis. Like, it's pretty hard to predict like when Ethereum's big move will be or Bitcoin's big move will be. You do believe that it could be, right? Like, it looks like Ethereum wants to go right now. It's been looking like Ethereum wants to go right now since really like early last year. And so that's great. And what I do is I just keep trying to maximize my exposure to Ethereum through trading alts and trading smaller coins and keeping those Ethereum bags as heavy as possible, because it is really incredible what Ethereum is accomplishing, and just seeing the DeFi ecosystem flourish on Ethereum, seeing what's going on there. It's pretty hard to deny that DeFi is it's quickly pushing its way up towards $100 billion. And, you think about it, if DeFi makes it to a couple $100 billion, I mean, that's all on Ethereum. The proof of stake network has to be worth more than the assets on it. So you think about it, it has to keep pushing, it has to keep going. The Ethereum market cap, I think it doesn't make sense to stop anywhere soon.
Yeah, I think that the really vastly underrated thing that people don't take into consideration, I talked a little bit about it on a live stream recently, is that when it comes to Ethereum, people don't take into consideration the Ethereum network, like all of the coins that are built or the tokens that are built on top of it. And then even beyond that, all the tokens that were built on it that have now moved to something else, proving that their purpose lined up with Ethereum's as well. So when you look at Cardano and Tron and EOS, a lot of those projects that moved on, VeChain that moved on, the networking effect of Ethereum is just absolutely gigantic, and the reach is huge. And I think that, I firmly believe that we are seeing that big move from Ethereum very soon. Over the next month, I've said $2,500 by Valentine's Day. I think we're going to get that. I think we're seeing the beginnings of the rumbling right now at this moment. The question is, where is the money going? And we think it's going to, I think you kind of agree with me that there's two directions this is going. Number one is going to be going into DeFi. Number two is going to be going into NFTs. We'll talk about DeFi a little bit at the end, but I know you're kind of like the NFT specialist. You and me both have had, a lot of experience working with NFTs and building NFTs. And I've asked you a lot of questions about them before, because I know you're even more so than I am. So give us a little rundown of, what's happening with NFTs. Are we going to get a second run on those the same way we'll talk about in a minute, we think we'll get on DeFi?
Yeah, thanks for that. I think that the NFT thing is in many ways a new and kind of different market. DeFi absolutely, and to a large degree, DeFi will pick up the slack whenever there's a boring period in the market. We saw that, right? We saw that DeFi now adds action and movement to a boring Bitcoin market, and that's a beautiful thing that I think really changes the concept of bear markets going forward. But moving over to NFTs, this is a brand new uncharted ocean of value, and this is something that I've been passionate about for years now. As we've been talking about our projects, and obviously I've been telling you about my games that I've been building for years now. And it's really exciting because you're just starting to see these speculative frenzies start to move into NFTs, and a lot of people have trouble with it because it's you don't just buy XYZ token and ride the whole NFT space. Maybe they'll figure out a way to do some kind of basket like that, but the reality is that it's much more individualized. It's much more personality and driven by your interests and driven by hobbies and real use cases and real communities. And so I think what you'll see is a lot of niche communities form. You'll see a lot of really interesting use cases form, and that we're just really, there's no wrong answers with NFTs. It's all a big experimental situation where people are going to have a lot of right answers. I personally have been having some extremely exciting conversations with different audiences and different types of people who want to get into NFTs. And so I'm super excited about that to bridge mainstream culture, bridge mainstream use cases with NFTs, because I think they go together a little better than crypto, because, a lot of people, like I say, they're not financially literate. A lot of people don't do investing. A lot of people don't buy stocks. Even if stocks always go up for the last 100 years, they still don't buy them. So I think NFTs, they're a little bit more palatable. Oh, it's like a Pokemon card. Oh, it's like a basketball card. It's like a Beanie Baby or something. There's a more relatable, less financial sort of techie aspect that I think can really draw people in.
Yeah, I think that's amazing. And I do want to point out to the viewers of the channel here that last week we just made fun of people who say niche instead of niche. And we now know who it is. It is Elio Trades niche for niche, and that's cool. And look, I know, like, we don't want to like really make this whole entire interview about your project, but I do want to bring it up. You do have a project that you are building in the NFT world, Super Farm. I know Ivan talked about it last week. I've had conversations with you about it, off air. We talk, if people didn't know that. And I'm really excited to see what's going on and the excitement around it. How have you felt about the reaction that people have had to, you building a project?
Yeah, it's been pretty humbling. I spent so long planning it, spent so long kind of withholding the information, and maybe that led to a really good response of, not just kind of hucking it out there, but really, rounding out the rough edges of it first, making sure that it's, I believe, something that's going to add value to the toolkit that is, both DeFi and NFTs, as well as being really useful to our own projects and our own games. And so I've been really excited by it. To me, every time I've sort of made it a layer deeper into the game, the expectations go up and the stress kind of goes up a little bit. So I'll be honest, I definitely am excited, but I'm working harder and pushing harder every day to live up to what is now a pretty high mountain of expectations for the project.
Yeah.
But thankfully I've actually, before announcing it, we built the thing, right? So it's not like we got our first audit back and it was passed with flying colors, and so that was really nice and encouraging. And so things like that make me feel a lot better, and a lot of support from the broader community and sort of more behind the scenes folks. And so I'm really excited about what comes next and just pushing hard. But yeah, it's definitely great, and also motivating. And as I told you this morning, pretty much haven't slept much in the last few weeks.
Yeah, and the main thing people want to know about this is if it's called Super Farm, like, does it have a really nice John Deere tractor with it? That's what the people want to. So let's shift gears here for just a moment, and let's talk about the other place where we believe that money is going to be flowing, which is DeFi. The DeFi run over the summer was really interesting, and you and I were right in the thick of it. I mean, we're talking to a lot of projects and helping people make a lot of gains, and then there were also projects on the backside of things that were not doing things on the up and up that got uncovered over time. Do you think we're going to see kind of the same thing with DeFi we saw over the summer? Do you think we're going to see like a ton of tiny little finance coins come in and try to scam everybody? Or do you think this is going to be a different kind of more mature run for DeFi?
Yeah, so all of the above, right? I think what you'll see is, when a chart, when a coin first launches, you get this huge hype cycle, right? And then it crashes. And and then there's the boring phase. And most people say, this project's done. I turn my back. And that's exactly when the big brains invest and accumulate. And I think that's kind of what's happening with DeFi. That's my thesis, right? Is that DeFi is boring. DeFi is not pumping. DeFi is dead. And that's exactly what the really intelligent and really big investors want you to think. And what you want to keep your eyes on is the teams that never stopped, the teams that are pushing, updating, going, never stopping, bringing something different, something useful, even if it seems maybe a little bit insignificant, but as long as they're trying to add something novel and different. And so, there's been a few of those projects that for sure stood out. And I keep seeing new concepts coming into DeFi, and I think it's really easy to go, oh, this all looks and feels the same. It's all just a bunch of projects chasing the same goals. But if you really dig in and you find what's unique and what's different, I think that's the challenge. And I think there's going to be a lot of winners.
Yeah, I think so. And, I've been looking at one of these projects that, I was invested in early on, still invested in, had kind of almost forgotten about there for a few weeks that you've talked about before, which is Alliance Block. And it has that exact chart you're talking about. It launched, it dipped way down. People kind of forgot about it. They kept building, and now it is right back up where it was. And it looks like it's going to go, way higher. So is that one you're still bullish on?
It's way higher than it was. It's way higher than it was.
Yeah.
It was like its initial hype cycle was like 16 cents, and now it's like almost hit $1. And so it's
gone insane. Are you still bullish on that one?
Yeah, well, I've been, when I get into this stuff, because I'm a builder, and I know that really what it comes down to with this stuff is it's a lot about the people behind the products that make this stuff work, and you need to see that kind of you need to see the drive. And I met with the Alliance Block team, and they checked the boxes for me, and that's why I decided to start covering them right at the peak of their boringness. I think we jumped in about 4 cents. And that was when they really were boring, and then that ended up being a good decision, because then they started really unrolling what they'd been sort of saving up, and I think they still have a few big bullets left to fire. And then after that, we'll see what happens. But it's a big task, right? Unlocking traditional finance and bringing it into DeFi. Those bridges all over crypto are very valuable. And once you see and sort of identify them, like I love Ren bridging BTC into Ethereum. I like the Polkadot bridges, and I see Alliance Block as a bridge as well. So if they can accomplish it, if they can pull it off, I think they've got some room to grow still.
Well, I've really been seeing a lot of correlation between, what crypto is supposed to be and what it's supposed to be about in DeFi. And there's certainly a lot of bad players in the game. We all know that. But it just makes sense that the number one industry to come out of cryptocurrency is the finance industry. Like, it makes total sense. Lines up. It's so obvious, sometimes, but it's right there under your nose. Well, Elio, I know you've been sipping the tea, and I love that about you. You love sipping the tea. And I like sipping the Elio tea. I like watching your videos. I like everything you got. You guys make sure, go subscribe to Elio Trade's channel, formerly known as FUD TV. It's all FOMO at this point. Okay, everybody's FOMO into Elio's channels. You guys make sure to go subscribe to his channel. We'll have the link down below. Elio, thank you so much for joining us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. Hopefully be back soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely be back soon. All right, guys, that's all we got. Drop some comments down below. Make sure to smash the like button. Be blessed. Good boy out.